Daily discipline changed his life, not in a dramatic overnight transformation, but in a quiet, almost invisible way that most people would never notice at first. Because real change rarely announces itself, it whispers, it repeats, it waits, and it builds while everyone else is distracted chasing motivation, inspiration, and temporary emotional highs. And for a long time, he was exactly like everyone else, waiting to feel motivated before acting, waiting for confidence before starting, waiting for the perfect moment that never came, telling himself tomorrow would be better, next week would be easier, next month he would be ready. But tomorrow kept turning into years and potential kept rotting into regret until one day he realized a painful truth that cut deeper than failure itself. Motivation was never coming to save him because motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable, fragile, and easily hijacked by fear, comfort, boredom, or distraction. While discipline doesn't care how you feel, it doesn't ask for permission, it doesn't negotiate with excuses, it simply shows up. And the moment he understood that, everything shifted, not externally, but internally. Because discipline is not about doing more, it's about deciding once and removing choice. It's about committing to standards instead of moods, about acting based on values instead of emotions. And at first it felt brutal, waking up when his body wanted to sleep, working when his mind wanted escape, staying consistent when results were invisible, choosing effort over comfort again and again with no applause, no validation, no guarantee, just silence and repetition. But something strange started happening beneath the surface. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, strengthened his identity. Every time he kept a promise to himself, he rebuilt trust with himself. Every time he chose effort over ease, he reclaimed a piece of his self-respect. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, he stopped seeing himself as someone who tries and started seeing himself as someone who does. Discipline stopped being punishment and became protection. Protection from regret, from self-betrayal, from the chaos of impulse, and as days stacked into weeks and weeks into months, momentum formed, not the loud kind fueled by hype, but the quiet kind rooted in consistency, the kind that keeps moving even when motivation dies. Because motivation always dies. It fades with stress, with rejection, with fatigue. But discipline remains because discipline is not emotional. It's structural. It's built into routines, into habits, into non-negotiables. And through discipline, he learned the most important lesson of all. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And once his systems changed, his life had no choice but to follow. He stopped asking himself how he felt and started asking what needed to be done. He stopped romanticizing success and started respecting process. He stopped chasing intensity and started mastering consistency. And this is where discipline becomes dangerous, because it compounds. One disciplined morning leads to another. One completed task leads to belief. Belief leads to confidence. Confidence leads to higher standards. And higher standards change everything. How you speak, how you walk, how you tolerate disrespect, how you manage time, how you respond to adversity. Discipline didn't just change his productivity, it changed his posture toward life. He became harder to shake, harder to distract, harder to break. Because when you train yourself to do hard things daily, life loses its power to intimidate you. Stress becomes manageable. Fear becomes information. Discomfort becomes familiar territory instead of a stop sign. And that's when discipline reveals its real purpose. Not success, not money, not status, but freedom. Freedom from dependence on motivation. Freedom from emotional volatility, freedom from being controlled by impulses, habits, and external circumstances. Most people think discipline is restrictive, but he learned discipline is what creates choice, because the disciplined man is not at the mercy of his urges, his mood, or his environment. He chooses his response, he chooses his actions, he chooses his direction, and over time the results became undeniable, not just externally but internally. He woke up with clarity instead of chaos, purpose instead of pressure, calm instead of constant self-doubt. And the irony is that motivation eventually returned, but this time it didn't lead, it followed. Motivation became the reward for discipline, not the requirement. And that's the order most people get wrong. They wait to feel inspired before they act, but action is what creates inspiration. They wait to feel confident before they move, but movement is what creates confidence. Discipline taught him that you don't become disciplined by feeling disciplined. You become disciplined by doing disciplined things, even when you hate it, especially when you hate it, because those are the moments that carve identity. And once identity changes, behavior becomes effortless. And that's why discipline beats motivation every single time, because motivation starts, but discipline sustains. Motivation excites, but discipline builds. Motivation is loud. Discipline is silent. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the spark is gone. And in the end, daily discipline didn't just change his schedule, it changed his destiny. Because a man who can command himself can command his future. And once you master discipline, life stops feeling random and starts feeling intentional, not easier, but clearer, not softer, but stronger. And that is why daily discipline didn't just change his life, it gave him one